my name is Amir Farid bin Mustafa. Today, me and my group will explain about ethics in quality management. But first of all, we need to know that quality management is the exercise of overseeing the activities, tasks, and processes that are used to create a product or service so they may be held to a high and consistent standard. There are four main components of quality management, which are quality planning, quality assurance, quality control, and quality improvement. The process of implementing all four components in an organization is referred to as total quality management. There are 8 elements of total quality management, which the first is ethics, then integrity, trust, training, teamwork, leadership, recognition, and communication. Okay, next is foundation of total quality management. First is foundation, which means it includes ethics, integrity, and trust. Second, building bricks. It includes training, teamwork, and leadership. Third is binding mortar. It includes communication. And last is roof. It includes recognition. Now I will explain of the definition of ethics. Ethic was derived from an ancient Greek word, ethos, which means habit or custom. Ethic is known as moral philosophy in life. This means it gives us question of what is the best way to live or what's right and wrong. Ethic can also help to guide and direct human action accordingly. According to Gorge and Davis in 2006, ethic also is about doing the right thing within a moral framework. Okay, this means ethics mean the responsibility and consequences of the behavior of a person or a profession toward the society. In an organization, to increase morale and enhance the performance of the organization, they must have employees who are ethically positive, honest, hardworking, and driven by principle of fairness and decency in the workplace. To improve their reputation and ensure a long-term success in the future, a company must practice and set up a proper ethics and behavior policy in the workplace. There are many importance of ethics in the organization, and the first one is ethics is the center of the success or failure of an organization. This means that if the employees do not fulfill their roles in ethical manners, they will create the customers' frustration and distrust toward the organization. This is because customer support is important for the organization to stay relevant in the market, and a company can lose its customer very quickly with a negative review. The second importance of ethics in the organization is to guide the employees to adhere to organizational policies and regulation. This is because ethics is used to figure out discipline and acceptable behavior for employees in the organization. Creating an ethical business environment can enhance satisfaction for both employees and clients, enhancing the organization's reputation in the market and community is also another importance of ethics in the organization. This means that an organization business can have a solid reputation in the eyes of the world for having ethics and integrity in the community. Reputation can stand for an organizational past, present, and future performance. Having a reputation in business is important because reputation is a tremendously important personal and professional success requisite that signifies the esteem perceived by the important public and the most valued organizational asset. And the last importance of ethics in the organization is the employees are responsible to implement the organization policies using limited resources. Business ethics is the entire range of belief, behaviors, and value system of an organization and employee. This means unethical behavior may cause some damage and consequences to the company reputation. Ethics, by having ethics, it can help to create awareness. Example, for instance, if the managers are being ethical, such as fairness, integrity, respect, and more positive ethics in the workplace, the employees for sure will follow them and be ethical in their work as well.
Hi, Assalamualaikum, and a very good day to our Madam Ms. Asnita and to my fellow friends. Thank you, Amir, for the introduction. My name is Wan Ainin Salsabila binti Wan Nazri. I will explain my part, which is our first point of discussion, the best ratio approach that can be used by managers in the organization, especially in quality management. Have you heard about the best ratio approach? No? Okay, let me explain the details. The best ratio approach is the pragmatic approach. Its philosophy is that people are basically good and under the right circumstances will behave ethically. However, they can be driven to unethical behavior in under certain conditions. And yes, when we are talking about ratios, the ratios ranges from good to bad decisions. When hard decisions must be made, the appropriate choice is the one that will do the most good for the most people. This is sometimes referred to as situational ethics. Situational ethics is often confused with utilitarianism because of its consequentialism. This is because situation ethics emphasizes on creating the greatest amount of love, while utilitarianism aims is the greatest good for the greatest number, and it also has different backgrounds. The best ratio approach is the most good decisions for the most people. Okay, now we move on to the consequentialist framework. When making a decision, a manager can use a consequentialist framework for assessing their decisions. Consequentialism is an ethical theory that judges whether or not something is right by what its consequences are. This approach depends on the results that have been made based on the selection of options. If this approach is assessed based on what outcomes are likely to occur, it is included in the consequentialist framework. The consequentialist framework focuses on the future effects of the possible course of actions, considering the people will be directly or indirectly affected. We ask about what outcomes are desirable in a given situation and consider ethical conduct to be whatever will achieve the best consequences. The person using the consequences framework desires to produce the most good. If we can take a look for an example based on an article, the topic of the article is Malaysia's approach in handling COVID-19 onslaught, report on the Movement Control Order MCO, and targeted screening to reduce community infection rate and impact on public health and economy. Despite a number of Malaysians objected to the government's efforts to implement the MCO and targeted screening, these efforts showed encouraging effectiveness in reducing COVID-19 cases in the country. This shows the government's determination to choose the best options to implement in the country after assessing the way foreign countries globally deal with the COVID epidemic. The second article that I would like to share is Total Quality Management, TQM, and Sustainable Company Performances, examining the relationship in Malaysian firms. This paper is in support of the fact that TQM dimensions bring some repercussions on a company's performance. The relationship between the elements of leadership, best practices, productivity, customer, employee, community focus, and company's performances is significantly proven. This study employs the resources-based view and TQM-related excellence model criteria that are used as a theoretical framework. This is steps for making ethical decisions that can be used by a manager. The first step is identify the problem. The manager must look for the symptoms and investigate the root cause of the problem. A good manager tries to understand what is causing the symptoms. The second step is generate alternatives. The managers must brainstorm and choose alternatives that they come up with that will give the best ratio outcomes for their organizations. The third step is decide on course of actions. For these steps, managers can use intuition, analysis, or democracy to achieve this step. When making decisions that are difficult to quantify, a cost-benefit analysis becomes more challenging. The fourth step is re-evaluate the decisions. The cost can include any form of utility such as capital expenditures, employee morale, loss of human life, and so on. That's why, in this step, managers have to consider everything and choose the best decisions. The last steps is draw a conclusion or implementation. Once the alternatives are evaluated and one are selected, implementing the course of actions requires the managers to put resources towards that choice. Although every decision will have unknown outcomes and unpredictable future, a manager must be firm when making the decisions that will affect all the aspects of the organizations. In conclusion, a manager is responsible for making a successful team of an organization, especially in quality management. The quality management is one of the core in the organizations that need to be taken care of. Okay, that's all from me. From my part, I have to pass this to Mr. Dev for the next part. Thank you.
Next is black and white approach. The black and white approach is defined as right is right and wrong is wrong regardless of the circumstances. The decisions are made strictly and morally. Originally, it initially used during America's Civil War in the 19th century. Both black and white used to see them as correct, and every little too large issue resulted in a deadlock. Every person in the race seek to deliver the proper answer and show the other wrong, resulting in the term in black and white. It indicates that in real-life circumstances, it is not always the case that one person is correct and the other is incorrect. Both may be correct in their own way. In a black and white approach, a manager is accountable for making ethical decisions, carrying them out, and encouraging employees to do the same. When making tough decisions, the manager must make the most objective and fair choice feasible regardless of the consequences or current circumstances. When it is obvious what is right and wrong, the situation is in black and white. From the perspective of the system and the organization, every option is either good or terrible with this approach. Compromise is not an option, and unethical behavior will not be tolerated. This is true regardless of the situation a decision maker finds himself in. Managers are pressured to make a moral decision regardless of the consequences. We learn that tremendous power comes with great responsibility. That is misconduct in your organization or scamming your customer. Workplace ethics aren't always black and white. Sometimes the barriers are evident, and we can tell if an organization is operating ethically. Other activities that we do not link with ethics may become ethical dilemmas in the future. This is critical for businesses to handle since ethical principles set the tone for a company cultures, and organizational ethics teaches employees how to conduct business ethically. Business is typically connected with competitiveness and greed. As a result of this implicit expectation and standard, people may engage in unethical behavior. We are willing to accept some moral ambiguity since it is all part of conducting business. In other words, while ethical failures in business are inescapable, they are an unavoidable part of the game. Ethics are based on our value and serve as a guideline for what is right and wrong. So what causes black and white thinking? The first one is narcissism. Narcissism is an exaggerated, excessive interest in oneself. Black and white thinking can be a symptom of this personality disorder. People who have it will often find it challenging to get help because they quickly dismiss doctor and therapists. Second is anxiety and depression. When people have anxiety and depression, it's common for them to think it absolute. That's why sometimes you can see a manager can make bad decisions by only using the emotion in making decision. They do not care what other co-worker thinks and prefer all the system work according to their preferences. Third, borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is a mental illness that causes people to experience intense feeling of anger, anxiety, and depression. They often will have symptoms of poor impulse control and frequently display black and white thinking. Fourth, obsessive compulsive disorder. It's common for people with obsessive compulsive disorder to think in absolute because it gives them a sense of control and comfort. This can lead to a lot of rigidity which make it hard to change. Fifth, racism and homophobia. Racist, transphobic and homophobic ideologies often fixate on in-group and out-group in society. These ideologies tend to involve projecting negative qualities almost exclusively on the out-group. Negative stereotypes are typically used to describe members of those groups who they believe are unlike themselves. Next, effect of black and white approach in long term. First, it can harm relationship. For example, suddenly moving people from the good person to the bad person, quitting a job or firing people, breaking up a relationship, and avoiding genuine resolution of the issue. Second, it can keep someone from learning. When the mind had always think that they're going to fail, eventually they might believe it. Sometimes they think that they already have a great knowledge about it and refuses to learn the new specification requirement of the product. Number 3, it can limit career. Thinking of the career as fixed and narrowly defined could cause the manager to miss out on possibilities they might find enriching, literally and figuratively speaking.
Hello, I'm Azizan. I will share to you about full potential approach. Definition of full potential approach is decisions are made based on how the outcome affect the ability of individual, also to achieve their full potential. People are responsible for realizing their full potential within the confines of morality. This topic related to this Maslow hierarchy of need. Inside of motivational theory in psychological comprising of 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as hierarchical level with a pyramid. Needs lower down in the hierarchy must be satisfied before individual can attend to the needs higher up, from the bottom of the hierarchy upwards. The needs are psychological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. This is from the pyramid. The basics one is psychological, is from breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, hemostasis, and excretion. And the second one is safety, is from the security of the body, of employment, of resource, of morality, of the family, of health, and of property. Third one is love and belonging, is from side friendship, family, sexual intimacy. Fourth is esteem, is self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of other, respect by other. And the last one is self-visualization, is morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, and acceptance of fact. What are the 5 level Maslow hierarchy of needs? This is from what I already told you from the pyramid. 5 ways to develop employee skill is close skill gap, give tasks outside job roles, develop leadership, eliminate barrier, implement peer-to-peer learning. I will show to you. For the first one is close skill gap. It's important to employment future proving against the future talent market trend. The knowledge about the current skill mismatch and the future demanded skill have organization offer skill targeted internal program, develop future leader, and upskill the workforce. With all this effort in place, employee can get a clear picture of future skill they will need to develop to stay competitive in organization, talent market, and beyond it. Second one is give tasks outside job role. A manager can consider a diversification of tasks for empowering your employee with a new duty or to expand their job role. The third one is develop leadership. A manager can put a learned skill into practice after training program ends and shifting from the one and done mindset. Moreover, boosting leadership among middle and junior level manager rather than the cause of the lost employee working for a company for 3 or more years. Fourth is eliminate barrier. A large company, people often know only their direct colleague and are locked in the silos to detect key talent, potential mentor, and candidate for upskilling. Manager can benefit from the skill management software. The matching algorithm help manager get a helicopter view on skill and competency, connect the employee, open tasks and job roles, and boosting employee collaboration. The last one is implement peer-to-peer learning. This is the learning paradigm shifted from a supervising to a partnership and mentoring pattern. It means the pioneering organization start following to peer-to-peer learning approach. The decisions are based on how they will affect the ability of those involved to achievement the full potential. All people are responsible for the realizing their full potential within the boundaries of morality. Choice can achieve this goal without violating the rights of others are considered ethics. Okay, thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Faizul bin Adnan. I will explain for this part, which is more focusing on the differences between the approaches. Yeah. So the first part is known as in base ratio approach. It usually known as situational ethics, while black and white approach it also known as circumstances relevance, and also the third approach known as full potential approach, also known as based on individual's ability. Yeah. The second differences we will see more on the how decisions are made. Yeah. And in base ratio approach, the decisions are made usually based on the environment where the chances of making ethical decision is higher than making unethical decisions. And in black and white approach, usually decisions are made in viewing every decisions as right or wrong, or no middle ground, and unethical decisions are not tolerated. Yeah. And the last one, full potential approach. Usually decisions are made based on the environment, culture, and situations where an employee can reach his or her potential in decision making powers. Yeah. And the last differences is how was the result? Is it ethical or unethical? In base ratio approach, some degree of unethical decisions are tolerated given that the ratio between ethical and unethical act. Yeah. And in black and white approach, the actors are under pressure to make ethical decision irrespective of the consequences. And in full potential approach, usually in the result employee who make their own decision should not be encroaching into the right of others, but be able to achieve their goals ethically. Based on these three approach, I can say that all approaches can be used in any decision making. Yeah, but the best practice is either it is ethical or unethical for us to use in whatever judged or judgmental that we want in our daily life. Yeah, especially when it's related to our workplace. So I think that's all for my part. I will pass to my colleagues. Thank you very much.
In conclusion, there are many methods and approaches that can be used by managers and officers to carry out their responsibilities relating to ethics, such as best ratio approach, black and white approach, and full potential approach. Approaches can be used according to the situation that happens in their workplace. This can be denied that organizations play the most important role in ethics, as they need to create an internal environment that promotes respect and reward ethical behavior. Next, organizations must set an example of ethical behavior in every external deal. Last but not least, organizations also need to support managers who make ethically correct decisions according to the problem that occur in the workplace, and not just in such profitable decisions. Not to mention, there are 3 types of ethical consideration that employees always face in performing their job, such as they are always pressured to carry out any task given that they consider themselves to have done something wrong. Also, employees tend to be asked to overlook any wrong action by someone else. Furthermore, they can get useful information to the organization, but not everyone will listen to them, and this can cause them to not be able to perform their job or tasks. Hence, culture of ethics should be embedded within a company from top down, and all employees should be aware of it and apply it. Lack of ethics may cause serious problems in a business, affecting employee performance, employer work relation, company's image and credibility.